My great uncle went to World War II and never talked about it. I'm recording 3 lives in a row. I will talk about this to my grandkids. What is up, Watch Fam? I am Christian, the curator of the Theo and Harris Watch Shop.
I'm the 3rd episode in a row we've shot today.
I know, we're exhausted.
We're just, if a cylinder's misfiring, it's because we essentially been talking for an hour and 30 minutes straight.
I know. Which I do all the time. True. Anyway, so today we're going to be, Michael and I sit down, talk about watches once, twice a week. Today we're talking about vintage watches and modern watches and really like... What's the difference and the overlap and why we prefer one but understand the other and really understand the other actually maybe even better than the other one. You know?
Of course. Yep.
We're also going to be talking about our favorite Rolexes of all time. Both of ours are not new, believe it or not.
Yep.
Hard to believe. And we're also talking about a story that Michael's got about missing out on a vintage watch that he really up on. So
yeah, really
that
bad.
Sucks. Today's episode is sponsored by Hone Health, which is a hormone optimization clinic that is delivered right to your door. Thank you, Hone Health, for the sponsor. And today I'm wearing an Oyster Quartz Rolex, gorgeous watch, purple dial, beautiful.
Wow.
And if you like watches, Michael and I do this. We sit down and talk about watches once, twice a week.
Yeah.
So subscribe to this channel because we're always doing this. These episodes are perfect for your commute or for hanging out or whatever. They're a ton of fun. Everyone in the comments loves them.
Soon to be a podcast.
Soon to be a podcast.
We forgot all 3 of these.
And we fucking promise.
We promised.
We promised at some point.
I wish I wrote it down because we didn't explain things.
It's all right. At some point we'll do
After these 3?
Podcast. We promise. And like this video, once we get so far in that you like it. Once you like the video, like the video.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's talk about vintage and modern watches.
Done.
I think I've asked you this before.
Mm-hmm.
Before you started at Theo and Harris, because we had talked a couple times.
Yep.
You sold watches.
Yes, that's correct.
But I don't actually know what got you into watches or why you ever bought or sold a watch.
I don't actually know either.
Like,
I just liked watches.
From when though?
I don't know.
The internet?
I don't know. You know what happened? I had a Timex expedition.
You're like, I saw a listing in a magazine for an old watch.
I just thought it had great investment potential. I had a Timex expedition with the Indiglo light and everything for a very long time. And I always was just like, oh, it's so cool that I have my watch. No consciousness of this is a dress watch, this is not a dress watch. I just wore it to everything. I'm assuming I just wanted to get a new watch and then just kind of like fell into it. Mm-hmm. I think that's it.
That's it.
Yeah. And then the easiest way to get your passion for free is to make it a business. So then I rocked it. All of a sudden I had like 50 watches at a time.
Which is actually what a lot of people do now. It's like, it's not about hoarding watches. It's about kind of like, getting into it. And because the industry's gotten so much bigger, they've been able to grow their collections without actually putting in a lot more money.
Yeah.
They've been able to, really scale up, which is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So from day one, as far as your interest in watches, obviously borrowing Timex, was it always vintage, or were you ever, when you walked past a Rolex boutique, did you care, or did you look in the...
Here's what's interesting, which I think it started off with you similar too. Correct me if I'm wrong. But
I will.
I went to...
No one's going to dispel misinformation.
No one's going to do 3 lives in a row and not correct you when you're wrong. I think what happened was I was looking at what was on the market new in my price range, which was very low when I first started, and then looking at what was vintage in my price range. And that's how I fell into vintage, because I was like, this is unreal. A dramatically better deal, a dramatically more beautiful watch from one of the best brands in the world, or the best brands in the world.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
So, yeah, and I felt the same way, and that's specifically how I felt about the Omega Seamaster. It was the date just soon thereafter.
I was also watching Theo and Harris.
Yeah, there you go.
That's funny.
Yeah, but it was the Omega... By the way, throw up just a screenshot or like a little clip that's silent or whatever of me in the back of the car, like when I was 11.
Doing it.
I don't watch those videos, but...
They're tough to watch.
They are, oh my God.
It does show a lot of hunger, though. Because you used to do 5 videos a week.
5 videos a week.
That's insane.
5 videos a week, and really, read a ton about vintage and watch history, but still knew very, very little. I mean, now we all know very, very little. We still know very little because watch history is so complex. And but then was really doing my best and actually doing a pretty good job at it. My delivery was shit, but my insights I thought were true.
It's what's sad is I know who you are. Yeah. I work with you all the time. And I know what you were doing at that age to get people to look at you and stuff, like to start the shop.
Totally.
And what you started then has, for some reason, just gripped your internet persona and followed you throughout your entire life.
Yes.
It really has.
Yes. Yes. It's amazing. I am almost nothing like the person that was on YouTube.
Essentially nothing like that person. But from, like, you're watching Gary Vee, and it made a lot of people be like, look at this asshole.
You know.
But it was such a different guy. Here you're like, hey, what's up?
Yeah, yeah. So it definitely started off with value. It was about, Seamaster being able to own a watch for $1,000 that I genuinely felt, and I was right, was worth $3,000. I was like...
Finding that out, I was like, you're kidding me with these prices. I was like, you're kidding. I can get a Cartier at the time. I was like, for $200, now they're thousands. Yeah. But I was like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
Or I can get a Seiko.
Yeah. Wow, my fucking heart's racing talking about this. It's so funny because now I'm thinking about it, and like... when my dad got his Rolex, and that was a new watch, so this is vintage modern. My dad got his Rolex. I'll never forget that moment because he was like literally shaking, like basically crying, like not like a wimp, but
he's in the corner.
Yeah. And I thought that was special. That was really special. I didn't know what about it was special, but I said, wow, like I've never seen my dad like cry before, and this is really making him emotional. Yeah. And it was because this is a 40-year-old man that grew up in literally one of the poorest neighborhoods you could possibly grow up in, that with cockroaches in the apartment, and now he's got a Rolex.
I had to go to get a vaccine.
Yeah.
And the appointment was in Brownsville. I got off the subway. I walked for a little bit, and then I was like, you know what? I'll just get it somewhere else.
No way.
Yeah,
really
which is it was not right near, but close to where your dad grew up, and that's how I recognized that. I was like, this isn't where I want to get my shot.
Oh yeah, it's a dangerous area. It's very scary, and when he got his Rolex at 40s, my mom gave it to him, and my dad, had taken care of his family, for the last 12 years. They bought a small house and raising children, and the Rolex was still something he didn't buy. My mom bought it for him.
It was like it sounded like the first time someone pushed him back into a chair and was like, "Relax, look what you did."
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that was like a watch thing, but I remember being like enamored with the idea of an automatic watch with my grandfather, and he had an Omega Seamaster that he still has that I wear. I actually wore it to meet Daniel Craig, which was cool. It's cool. It was like the Bond watch.
Yep.
And I remember learning that a watch was powered by your movement, and that this watch had been powered by my grandfather's wrist since the mid-50s.
Yeah.
And saying, that's cool. Whoa.
Yeah, right.
So, obviously, new watches are automatic.
He must have been exhausted.
He must have been exhausted. I remember saying, wow, this watch is, and it's in great condition, this watch is from 1952. What in the world?
Yeah, right.
So I was always fascinated with things that were like time capsules.
Oh, yeah.
So for me, the passion is with vintage watches, but the argument for modern watches is so clear. Vintage watches, to appreciate vintage watches, you need prerequisite knowledge.
100%.
You need to read, to learn about history and technology and design.
Yeah.
Modern watches are so obviously awesome. You don't need to know a thing about watches to hold a modern watch and say, oh, I get this.
Perfect example, and I won't name names, knowledge in the vintage watch world is the guy that sold this other guy a tropical dial Rolex Datejust for way under value because the dial was bad. And knowledge is knowing that, no, it's a tropical dial.
It's a tropical dial,
yeah.
Exactly.
Our friend actually refused the sale and gave him more money or something like that. He was like, this is stealing. But still, that's not, you just don't know the market.
Exactly. Whereas when you hold a new Rolex or a Patek, perpetual calendar or whatever you're holding, a Bulgari Octo Finissimo, you don't need to be a historian to say, wow, this is just
incredible. Right.
And that's because technology has evolved and the quality of these things is so evident now.
Yeah.
You hold a new luxury watch and you're like, this is unbelievable.
And the person selling it to you is like, and it will stay unbelievable for its entire existence.
Exactly. If you hold what was a luxury watch in 1958 or 65 or 72 or whatever, now you're like, I don't know, it's kind of flimsy and old, and that's the truth.
Yeah. The bracelet is hollow.
The bracelets are hollow. They stretch out. I love that. It's charm, but really, there's an argument for the class of watch. You don't need to explain why it's good. You just know it's good.
Yeah, right. And that's modern.
Wait, you put on a vintage gold GMT. It's nothing like a new gold GMT. The new white gold GMT is a baller watch. There is meteorite in that watch now.
Perfectly slim sliced. Everything is perfectly weighted.
Do you think that meteorite was in GMTs in
the 50s?
1955?
They didn't even know space was real until 1969. All they had was little records of like old women in Illinois that found little rocks from space in their yard.
I was at an event one time and there was this like thin guy, a little schlubby looking, really gentleman, but from a distance, a schlub.
Yeah.
And I went over to him to talk to him. He could be watching this video for all I know. And he's wearing like an old windbreaker and like a pastel color, like a green, not pastel, but like a green color. Not that it matters. Yeah, right. And I go over to him and I'm like, hey, it's like a crazy watch you've got on. And I'm sorry, I saw it peeking. He was wearing a white gold date with a meteorite. I said, that is nuts, man. And he goes, yeah, I'm a meteorologist. I said, what the? That is the coolest thing ever.
Unreal.
And then he showed me his wife's diamond ring. It's like a 5-carat emerald cut. Like incredible.
I'm glad you didn't stop and burp. You were like, I can finish this sentence.
I can finish this sentence.
No doubt.
When I used to do my Martin Scorsese impression, he's always burping while he speaks.
Yeah.
So I still, when I do my Scorsese impression, no.
It's pretty good. It's also Woody Allen.
It's very, very close. Scorsese is just Woody Allen of Little Italy.
Yeah, right.
It's
a shame the meteorologist has such a cool tie-in, and our friend TJ has such a cool tie-in with his trio of watches.
Yep.
I can't think of one for me that's cool. A camera sensor slice? That's not cool.
We can think about it.
Yeah, let's think about it.
Yeah, for real. There's definitely something that we can think about there.
Yeah. I have oh my God, one day when we get each other watches, if they ever come in, Cartier, I have such a good engraving for the back of yours.
Yeah?
I have 2 ideas, yeah. Yeah.
Beer money.
Number 2.
I would love that.
That'd be hilarious.
Anyway, yeah.
Number 2, now I have 3 ideas.
I get the vintage. I get, obviously I am a vintage guy.
Yeah.
I am enamored with vintage watches, and the concessions we make in quality are welcome to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, look, the next watch, we talked about this before, like at this very moment, I am not looking for a vintage watch. I'm looking for a new watch. We're looking for a new AP, right? So there's that appeal, and I totally get it. And when I started in watches, I never would have wanted a new watch, and I should have bought all the new watches then because now they're worth quadruple.
Loaded, yeah.
Exactly. But that's life. But I did also just get that vintage the Santos Carré in gold.
Oh yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's a vintage watch.
That's a cool watch.
Yeah, Michael's like, let me just talk about all the things I just bought.
No.
I buy
the
a
joke
watch
was
$14,000. Michael has 2 jackets, $14,000. So, God,
I'm like, dude, you're spending a lot of money.
Yeah.
I'm in like ostrich with the ostrich is still alive. I'm like, dude,
Michael's got a denim jacket, $1,100. I'm like, that seems like a lot. And he's like,
I'm like, well, it was made in Japan. So
What is this? Is this expensive?
This is $125. It's on sale.
From how much?
$225? Isn't it beautiful?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's wool beach cloth.
Where's this from?
Taylor Stitch.
Oh.
So it's not real wool beach cloth, which is 80% wool, 20% cotton. This is a little cheaper version.
I'm getting into knit polos now.
Yeah.
And so they're never pure cotton. They're like a cotton poly mix.
Yeah.
And I guess that gives you a very vintage feel,
Strength. Adds a little bit of strength. Maybe cotton doesn't really pill. It's just they're cheaper.
But it doesn't stretch. It doesn't stretch.
It doesn't stretch. Oh, okay. I guess. Yeah, if it gets wet, it won't stretch, and when you're washing it and stuff, it won't.
It won't stretch in the wash either.
No, it will shrink, but it won't how your shirt gets all
that's what I meant. Shrink. So how much does it shrink? Poly shrinks a lot.
Well, no,
I say wash in cold water and you're fine.
Yeah, cold water is always the move.
Yeah, but I always wash in cold water. Is that bad?
No, it's good.
I wash everything in cold
Gentle on your garments.
Gentle on your garments. Michael's a big garment guy.
Big garment guy.
Anyway, so yeah, I get it. I think that ultimately, at the end of the day, both vintage and modern watches both have the ability to, like we said, and it sounds sappy, it sounds whatever, but it's true. And if you love watches, you definitely get it. But they have this ability to like capture, like kind of not every watch in your collection, but some watches, when all is said and done, will have captured you. Like you will be like, in that watch.
I have the perfect sad story to tie that thought together at the end.
You're not gonna tell me now?
Well, I figured it'd be good. We'll do our little home health.
Okay, I'll tell you. Yeah, and that's a beautiful thing. My grandfather's Omega will always be his. It will never be mine, even if I own it. Even when my son or daughter owns it. It's my grandpa's watch. That's the end of the conversation. But I have a cousin that at least when this happened, was probably about, I don't know, he's probably 23 now, 22 now. It's probably happened about 10 years ago. So he was 12 or 14, something like that.
Okay.
And so we were kids hanging out. And, he had mentioned that he didn't know anything about his grandfather. His grandfather had died when even his mother was very young. I think his mother was like 20.
Wow.
So he never met his grandfather, clearly. He died in 1977, the year my date just was born.
Wow.
Kind of funny. The year Elvis died as well.
Wow.
Anyway, he didn't know anything about his grandfather. And he didn't say it like in a sad way. I was saying, I knew everything about his grandfather because one of my very good friends, it was his grandfather's best friend, and everyone talked about his grandfather in my family so much. His grandfather was the point is, my family carried the oral tradition along. Right?
Okay, sure.
They always talked about people. I feel like I know everyone in my family that died before me because I know all their little stories. And it's got nothing to do with watches. My family doesn't give a shit about watches. I care about watches. No one else cares. But it's the same idea. It's this, passing down like this story about someone. And if we have visual aid and material aid, it makes it easier.
Yep.
It's easier to tell a story when you say, oh, and by the way, this is his watch, or this is his briefcase, and whatever, and that's just beautiful. And that story always bothered me because it made me really sad because I really believe in the full picture. First of all, never just the good stuff. Anytime my direct family talks about someone that has passed, we always talk about the bad stuff too because we feel like hypocrites if we're not.
Right.
We talk about, how great they were. I'm like, and they were very selfish too. Let's not forget that he hated me the year he died. We didn't talk for a year. I never let that go by.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, I suppose that's not a fully, thought out thought. But that's got a lot to do with why I love watches because they're like this material aid in preserving our legacies and stories. And can you tell why we make films now?
Money.
Because I get to buy shit, motherfucker. You think that fucking G-Wagon pays for itself? Nope. Fucking AP
it becomes
coming
a slander.
in. Yeah,
like,
right.
Wow.
Exactly. Oh my god. Knit polos, $500 a pop, bitch. What do you think? I'm doing this for fucking nostalgia? No, I'm just kidding.
Even the word
both.
money is just an adrenaline shot over here.
Yeah, no, it's really more nostalgia. But he's right. I do spend too much money. So
no, I meant us.
Us, yeah.
Yeah, it's not shade.
Yeah.
Okay, last question before we do the sponsor.
Yes.
Which I think I already know the answer to, but you, of course, want to pass down a watch. At least a watch.
Yeah.
You need a new watch to do that.
What do you mean you need a new watch? Do you need a new watch?
Here.
Oh.
Do you know what I'm saying? Because this has always been my thought. I think about passing down my watch, and like the watch that we'll talk about in a little bit is a vintage watch. And I'm like, okay, my direct descendants will understand. This
These
is
little droids. What the fuck? My
cameras.
direct descendants.
They'll definitely be like they're looking at the watch, and like my son would be like, oh yeah, this is my dad's watch. I know he got it used already or he got it old. But the next generation, I feel like it would slowly fade away until it goes back past me. They're like, well, this watch is from the 50s. And like Michael was from like the 2000s, like 20s and stuff like that. So this must be either his grandfather's or his great grandfather's. And it's like, no, that's mine. So I feel like then I would need to get a new watch.
You mean. You can't date. But that only really becomes a problem if they don't really know the story that well. Once the oral tradition starts to break down, then they would have a problem. You're right.
Yeah.
I think that if it's if the previous owner is also someone in your family or a loved one, then it's never Michael's watch. Like if I gave you a watch, I'll never give you a thing, but I'll give you the paycheck that I
never
owe
give
you.
You anything.
If I gave you a watch, and you pass it down, it wouldn't just be Michael's watch. It would be, that was Michael's gift because of X, and it's a whole story.
Right.
But no, like it's not. And even if it's an old watch,
there's a disconnect.
There's a disconnect. There is a thing there. Again, when I pass down the Omega, it'll never be mine. It'll be Poppy's, and I took care of it, and the stories, the memories that I make with it will be a part of it.
Yeah,
for sure,
of course.
But it's never my watch.
Yeah, right.
Never.
Right.
But my date just when I pass it, I didn't know the guy that bought it originally.
Yeah,
so the story kind of starts with me in 2015 or 2014 at the time. You know, that's when
it's 2014 at the time.
Yeah, right. Now it's 2022. What the fuck happened? What happened?
Right.
Oh no. I'm sorry. Today's the 9th? The company turned 7 on Tuesday.
Wow.
Wow.
I've only been here for the baby steps.
That is crazy. Yeah. Yeah, okay.
We're going to get into Hone Health real quick, but we will finish up with my sad stories. And 2, I feel like, unreal vintage Rolexes that, as on the outside, are old watches. Yours are a bit flashier than mine. But to anyone that looks at them or knows anything about watches, it's like, wow.
Well, you know watches.
Yeah, exactly. You
Yes.
picked every small detail and got it.
Yes, that's a big thing with watches. Is like, if I see a guy with a regular Submariner on, he may be a watch guy. He also may not be a watch guy.
Yep.
If I see a guy with a Meteorite Day-Date, I'm like, that guy's it. Like, that guy knows watches.
Yeah, right.
Not to say he knows them more than the sub guy. Just the odds that he knows watches are way higher.
I would hopefully like to think both of these watches are like, these guys know.
This guy's a watch guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Hone Health, our sponsor for today that we want to talk about, they are a hormone optimization clinic that helps you get back, like we said, your libido, your energy, your focus, and it's delivered right to your door. This is digital. This is extremely easy process to take advantage of. Testosterone levels have decreased substantially over generations. Our father's generation had testosterone levels that were literally 25% higher than ours today. Now, this isn't our fault as individuals. There are many variables at play that are affecting us. Sure. But the reality is that 30 million men in this country are suffering from or experiencing lower than normal testosterone levels that really could benefit from and really should take advantage of testosterone hormone optimization. A major selling point for testosterone treatment is libido, and that certainly is one of the major
That's
points.
what you think about immediately, of course.
Certainly important, but it really can't go underemphasized that focus and energy may be even just as important, if not more important, when it comes to like work, when it comes to efficiency.
When it comes to life too.
And living a happy life.
Yeah. The stigma of the grumpy old man. It's honestly, and I've seen it around old people all the time, they literally need a nap because they're tired.
Exactly.
Obviously, that's something that happens as you get old, but that is also something that can happen at different ages too. For many reasons, but low testosterone is definitely one of them.
Most everyone that I know is men 30s and 40s, and this has become a much more popular topic of discussion because it's a real problem people are facing and they want to address it. And Hone is doing exactly that. Yeah. So the Hone process is very simple. Hone sends you a home biomarker test that you take and resubmit to them via the prepaid label that they include in your package. Then you have an in-depth session with a physician that consults you on FDA-approved medication, which is then in turn delivered right to your door. Hone launched in 2020, and they've literally helped thousands of men, like we said, regain their not just libido, and that's important, but also their energy and their focus, which maybe to me, again, just as important, if not more important, which is the truth.
They're also very, very important in what libido does too. All 3 of those are a package deal.
Yes.
If you can get this kit and take the test and send it out and figure out it is or it isn't, why not? At this point in 2022, I say this to people all the time. Like, I found out in the past 2 years I'm allergic to nuts. And I found out, what's the other thing I found out? I don't know. The nuts thing was huge.
And I have a bad memory.
And something about my memory. I can't remember. But I found out I was allergic to nuts. And I was literally like, I would get canker sores all the time. And it was horrible. And I found it out. And it literally changed my life.
Yes.
And like, if you can order this, do a quick test. And the total cost is what, $45 to get the consultation and everything?
Exactly.
If it's negative, amazing.
Yep.
If it's positive, done.
You know more about your health, and then you can then make the decision on what to do. But it's important to know what's going on in our bodies, for sure. And again, there are a lot of reasons why men are tired and grumpy and that. But frankly, I think that everyone's got to address this problem because it's no good. It's unhealthy and it's really not good. So click the link down in the description, or just go over to honehealth.com/Theo and Harris to get started. Knowing yourself and your health just that much better. Favorite Rolex. This is the task. Find your favorite Rolex of all time. Neither of us picked a new Rolex.
Yeah, funny.
Funny
How that works.
Go figure. Back to our conversation from earlier today, right?
I can guarantee though, any watch meetup, just in life, these Rolexes will not get, well, yours will. They won't get the looks right away, but when someone asks about your watch, whether you're on a date, whether you're with friends, you will have a lot more to say for a lot more
Yeah,
reasons.
but even mine, which we'll get into in a second, would get overshadowed by like any number of new Rolexes.
Anything modern.
You
Yeah,
know,
I just mean because of the color.
Oh yeah, exactly. Okay, so my watch is it not my watch? The watch I like quite a bit. That is a Rolex 6542, which is the original GMT reference. The particular example that I picked dates to 1958. The reference itself was introduced in 1952, I believe. No, I'm sorry, 1954, and it was the first GMT. This was, I believe, it was the only Rolex, I believe, ever that was actually recalled by the brand.
Yep.
Because the bezels were both radioactive, but even worse than that,
Whoops.
or worse than that to the Rolex at the point, was they were breaking.
Bakelite.
Because the Bakelite, plastic would break, whereas its successor, aluminum, would not. So you've got 6542s with aluminum bezels from service.
Yep.
They never, not never, but Rolex did not service something with the Bakelite and not replace it.
Yeah.
Because it was defective.
That's nuts. And the Bakelite bezel is gorgeous.
And the Bakelite bezel, while a huge pain in the ass, is worth so much money. Those Bakelite bezels are $30,000-$40,000.
It's also insane, plastic at one point was a luxury. So having it on a Rolex is cool.
Yeah, exactly.
And now it's who would ever want plastic?
If I bought a 6542, I would replace the Bakelite with with a fake Bakelite or with an aluminum or something like that. But because it's just too much money, and forget about the $40,000. I also wouldn't want to play a role in breaking a well-preserved example of a very rare Rolex material.
That would be horrifying.
It would bother me.
Yeah,
not as a historian, but as an appreciator of history.
It's I love this watch so much because of this reason, and I broke it. And we talked about it before. I slammed it on the G door.
Exactly. What an asshole.
Yeah, right.
So the 6542 was originally introduced in stainless steel with a Pepsi bezel. It was never manufactured in a different bezel but Pepsi. It was the only bezel. But in gold, it was manufactured with a brown bezel, which is what we have here. The 6542, again, 1958, yellow gold.
Unreal.
With an orange dial at this point, and basically an orange-brown bezel Bakelite. This is a perfect watch.
Unreal.
Alpha hands. You never see alpha hands on GMTs anymore. Nipple dial, chapter ring. This watch is perfect. It sold for $125,000 in 2013. This watch would probably be worth double that today, maybe even more.
Yep.
And I think that at some point, due to how rare these watches are, I am not kidding, this could easily be a $1 million watch. And that sounds silly, but it's easily a $1 million watch.
Especially as time goes on, those bezels are not aging well.
Exactly. And they're only going to break. Someone's going to break it.
Someone doesn't know.
No more are being manufactured, but things can always break. So they'll always be rarer.
Yep.
These watches, when they were manufactured, they were not this bright in color. This is a product of aging.
Yep.
So a lot of them are darker, and I don't find them as appealing. But this particular example, nuts.
Yeah, it's insane.
This is crazy.
Oh, yeah.
With the super slim rivet bracelet, man, this is a perfect watch. Perfect watch.
Perfect watch.
I can't get over this watch.
My Grail watch, or this isn't actually, it's not really a Grail.
One of your favorite Rolexes.
Yeah, one of my favorite Rolexes that I want to get, and it would be definitely my main watch in the collection. Probably basically the only watch I wear. This is the 6546, which the real sad story is I think it may have been this exact watch. I'm not sure. I saw on eBay years ago for $2,000.
Oh, God.
And I was like, I love that for a few reasons I'll get into in a second. And I was like, I'll just keep scrolling, and I was getting my oil changed as I was scrolling, and I was like, wow, I've never seen a specific detail. That's cool. I went super down the rabbit hole, and then I was like, it'll be there. No one's going to get it. Since it has, I think it's been in 4 different auctions, each one getting more expensive. So it went for 2, then for 3, then for 4, then for 5, then for 6, and now there's a price upon request, I think, on it. So just the value has skyrocketed. But what's interesting about this watch is a ton of things. 1, the dial is honeycomb, so it's a ton of texture. 2, their indices are daggered, which is beautiful, and it comes with a 369 Explorer dial. And then it's kind of tough to see, but under Rolex there's a red depth sign, which is unreal. On a Rolex Oyster date, there's a red depth that says 50 meters. Oh my God! Right?
How gorgeous!
That is gorgeous, exceedingly rare, and you see basically this watch or maybe 2 others cycling around the watch selling sphere. It's not a bunch of different examples.
Stunning.
There's one right now in gold that I've been...
You're kidding.
Yeah.
Wow, that's not bad.
That's not bad at all.
What a watch.
Absolutely gorgeous from 1955. And then if you go down, I have one more here. This is the 6494. It's essentially the same watch. 1956.
Dial,
Same thing, but it's a... Oh, sorry. The other one was not an Oyster date. This is. But unreal for those reasons. And I didn't have the red depth gauge on mine, but I had one of these In the last, when I was first started like working, I was like 15, getting a real job. And I remember when I was 16, I was driving
what?
A real job.
Okay. Never heard of it.
What year was this? I remember specifically 16 years old driving some kid around and saying he didn't have his first job yet. I was like, everything changes when you get a job. You're way busier. Which is funny to say when you're 16 because it was like a part-time job.
Yeah, right.
But I kind of had that same mentality through college, and this was the last watch that I had before I was like really in like the workforce. So I was working all the time. So I had this watch. I bought it just before I went to Maine with a group of my improv troupe, which is 11 of my closest friends. Was dating someone, super great, like rosy time, didn't have a job, didn't really have any responsibilities, and we just ran around Maine, and I had that watch on.
Oh, wow.
And then I sold it, and this has been the only watch since then that I've consistently, since I sold it, missed, because it's directly tied to, like what you said, there's a little bit of you in it.
Totally.
Directly tied to just like the last time I wasn't thinking about like money and work and like where I'm living and all these situations and stuff. I was just hanging around Maine.
Yeah.
And now, since then, always missed it.
Yeah.
All the time. I always look at those watches. I've said it to you since I started working here. I was like, oh yeah, I want to get one of these.
Yes, you have.
And that's why, because it has never left me.
Also has the date, that there's that silver around the date as well. That's so
Dude,
cool.
unreal.
Wow. Honeycomb dials are just incredible. We've talked about this before, but now Rolex does honeycomb in their day, but it's not nearly as cool as this.
Yeah, it's like
this has
digitized.
texture. This is amazing.
With the red depth gauge.
Yeah.
Woo!
You really f***ed me up just now when you said that was the last time that you were living without thinking about work and stuff like that. And I was like, when the f*** was that? I don't remember. Because I'm trying to like date it. Like, I definitely wasn't thinking about work in high school because I never worked.
Yep.
But I was also suffering from that self-loathing because I wasn't successful yet. And I'm wondering the last time that I either wasn't working or not suffering from self-loathing from not being successful.
Yeah.
Or an adult or whatever, or a working adult.
Interestingly, though, in college, I also didn't. I was making movies and stuff trying to break into cinema. But I did feel successful in my improv troupe.
Oh,
because we won everything we ever did.
Interesting.
But still, on the life goal, like, not really. But it was that moment where you're just
that's
like...
very interesting, yeah.
You know, I think everybody has that moment in their life where you're like, what that... Like, if I had $5,000 in my bank account, I had $5,000 to spend.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right, yeah, of course.
And then
did you need
it
money
never
for?
hit zero, but if it, like, went down, I was like, it's fine.
Whatever. It's
Whatever.
Just,
And now you're just like, well, I need to put this here and spend this here. I have this bill coming up.
That's
this work.
so interesting.
Yeah, so that watch is all I picture when I think of that. And there's pictures of me on the trip with that watch. I'll show it.
Yeah, please do.
Oh,
that's so interesting. Wow, that's a hell of a story, Michael.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for sharing this beautiful Rolex.
Yeah, of course. Don't buy it. If you see one, save it. Just leave it. Let it
Someone's
sit.
going to email me later on, like, here, I have the watch. You really ought to buy it for Michael. Here it is, $14,000.
Yeah, absolutely not.
All right, well, that's this week's episode. I think that we're good. If you guys like this episode, like the video. And if you love watches, subscribe to our channel, because we do this all the time, once, twice a week.
It's ridiculous.
Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
Do it again.
Thank
Unsubscribe,
you
resubscribe.
for this week's episode, my friend.
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you all for watching, and I'm going to get the f*** out of here and go eat my dinner and go to sleep.
3 episodes down.
3 episodes down.